Are Manchester United actually in talks with Elliot Anderson? Are Manchester United leading the race to sign Tonali? There's a lot of stories out there about these two top targets in the summer, and we're going to go through some of the stories and let me know what you're thinking at the same time. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. If you're not new, obviously you'll know how this works. Get your comments and questions in, and we'll try and go through those during the show. There is going to be quite a few things to talk about with Manchester United. We know the midfield situation. And we know that we were talking about this about maybe a couple of days ago. We were saying before the game, let's see what Anderson does against Manchester United. That's going to be at least a good opportunity for fans to see. And I think we saw that Elliot Anderson is a top quality player. He created a few chances for Nottingham Forest. He's definitely one of these midfielders that's going to be good at a lot of things. And I did see actually, if there's any Liverpool fans that end up watching the stream, I did see a few people online comparing him a bit to like a young Steven Gerrard. Lots of passes. I think the only thing we didn't see really was Anderson taking shots and seeing if he could score. But we did see that in his previous game. But yeah, an amazing cross for the first Forest goal, a nice pick out for the second goal. Lots of passes, won 60% of his ground duels. He had a really strong game, and he's no doubt a top target. If Manchester United are seriously interested in rebuilding midfield, he's a number one target for sure. This is the story I saw, which again, I'm not sure if this is actually accurate, or there's going to be a lot of stories pushed out there for sure this today. And this is like saying that Manchester United having direct talks with Elliot Anderson and his representatives in the last 24 hours. And he is a serious target. We know all this. And this is where I would say that Manchester United's approach over the last 18 months, couple like last few transfer windows, has pretty much been go to the player first. And when you go to the player, find out if the player wants to join Manchester United before a bid goes in. If a bid goes in and it's an official bid and we know about this, then that will indicate that Manchester United feel that Elliot Anderson is significantly interested in a move to Manchester United, and that would be quite big news. I think Manchester United making a bid for Anderson or probably Tonali as well, that would be huge news, and it would be something that maybe some people think that there is a serious chance of getting these players in. Until that happens, though, I think we have to also look at the backup targets and the other targets which are under consideration. And a lot of stories today are talking about Tonali and saying that Manchester United may be the iron pole position to sign Tonali. He's going to be quite expensive as well. I'm not sure exactly how much the price is going to be. A lot of people think it's about the £80 million price point for Tonali. And that obviously you're not going to get a cheap deal for any of these players. But Tonali about 80 million. Anderson potentially more, but again, we'd have to see what happens if someone does put in a serious offer. It'd be quite nice to actually see Manchester United put in an offer and then see what the response from Nottingham Forest is. That they can only say no and they can only turn it down. And to be honest, I'd imagine that whatever happens, Elliot Anderson will probably leave Nottingham Forest this summer, and it probably won't be for the first bid. So it almost feels like you need to get the first bid in, find out what the situation is, and then find out if it's going to be happening as well. So I'm going to go through some comments as well. So this is the point where if you get some comments in from now on, I can go through the chat. So welcome Howard, welcome Bilal, Rob, Neil in the chat as well, Lucky, and I think I saw Berber as well, and Cody saying, yeah, I'm all good, and welcome to everyone in the community as well. If you're able to share the stream at this point in the stream when we're live, that would be fantastic, just to get more people involved. And so let's get Anderson done, 100 million or whatever it takes to get him over the line. This is probably going to be the question, isn't it? That if Manchester United want to get Anderson done, they're going to have to make a bid quite soon just to see. But they're probably going to have this conversation, like I said, before a bid goes in. They're probably going to have the conversation with Elliot Anderson and find out if he's interested. Just a quick point as well regarding Gary Neville saying things. I don't normally agree with Gary Neville, but I do in this instance because I think he's talking a lot of sense regarding Anderson. And so one of the things he likes about Elliot Anderson, and one of the things I like about Anderson as well is he looks up, he makes forward passes, he's creating chances. It's not just like he's a one-trick pony. He's not mediocre at a lot of things. He's actually very good at a few key attributes. One is going to be winning possession back, defending strongly, and we don't often see him get played through like he did on the weekend. I think Bruno Fernandes and Komenu had very good games as well. But that was a difficult game for Anderson. But despite that, and despite Forest being under massive pressure, like 29 shots from Manchester United yesterday, and it could have been easily been like 4 or 5 goals yesterday. Anderson was still able to actually pick out passes, still cause problems, and it did give like Forest a chance of getting something out of the game. So without Anderson, this is like a 4-0 game. I think they're getting completely destroyed. But he was able to actually at least impact the game in some regard. And some people were saying that because he'd won 60%, he'd made like 90% of his passes as well. Individually, a very strong game from Anderson, but Man United were very good on the weekend. It's one of those days where it didn't really matter what he did. Like it was going to be, as like Gaz says, big up to you, Gaz. Anderson was quality at the weekend. Everything from like his passing was on point, his accuracy was there, the assists were there, the chance creation was there. He did everything he could individually, but Nottingham Forest kind of got over. Like, they kind of got dominated by Man United in a lot of aspects of the game, and with more clinical finishing, it could have been quite messy. But that's not to say that it was Anderson's fault at all. It was just one of those performances from Manchester United that sometimes happens with Bruno. Like he's saying that things will be happening quite quickly once the transfer window moves. I get the feeling that the transfer window is going to be open in probably what's it, just under a month now. So we've got 3.5 weeks before the transfer window opens, and it looks like Manchester United are doing a lot of the groundwork. So in terms of which players we want to sign, it looks like Manchester United are maybe they are doing what people are expecting them to do. I don't think they're going to be putting offers in straight away with the season not yet finished, but they are speaking to people. They are going to be speaking to. So whether this is breaking news or not, that this journalist here has put out a story saying that Manchester United have had talks with Anderson. I think Manchester United would have had talks with Fernandez, with Edison, with Tonali, and they'll be doing all these sort of things will happen with every single target because United. One thing they need to do is they need to work out which players are going to be up for joining Manchester United. They've got to work out exactly how much these players are going to cost. Like we can guess how much Forest want, and Forest might put out a story saying they wanted 125 million, but I think realistically that's not going to happen. I don't think we're going to see somebody spend 125 million on a player this summer. I could be wrong, and in which case that feel free to point me to the stream and I will go, okay, fair enough, I was wrong. But I'd be expecting, I think about 100 million ish with maybe a top. I'd be surprised if it was more than Declan Rice. That Declan Rice was about 110. And I'd be surprised if Manchester United don't try and leverage it with some sort of add-ons. So I'd imagine with this one that I think we'll see potentially some add-ons as part of the deal, which might mean that the like paying for it financially will take place over a bit of a longer period of time. I'm not sure the exact figure, but could you see something like 90 plus like 15, 20 add-ons, something like that, where the add-ons would take it over 100 million, but initially it's under 100 million, something like that? And so, look, you're saying that you think there's a bid incoming before the transfer window opens. You could look at it that way and say that I think, yeah, maybe the season's like pretty much over for Nottingham Forest, isn't it? The season's over for Manchester United. So I think in terms of like this, that there's nothing more for Nottingham Forest to play for. I guess you can have like league position potentially, but in terms of like, we're not going to be destabilizing their club in light of. Can you imagine if Forest were in a European final, which could have been the case if they beat Aston Villa? I don't think we see too much. If Forest were in a relegation fight, I don't think we see anything going in either. But because they're not in those situations, I think that lucky you might be right. If you are right, I'll give you a lot of credit and say that you called it because I think a lot of people, yeah, are looking at that as well. Be up to Talk Forest TV. Good to see you again, my friend. I know we chatted on the weekend and it was great to get you on. I think a lot of fans were just quite happy to see a Nottingham Forest fan coming in to discuss the match as well. And so you could see that it's being done early or on deadline day. So if he stays at Forest, you'd be happy. 100%. I saw a story this morning that Manchester United might consider a move from Murillo based on potentially delayed surgery and he might be out for a decent amount of time. So there's going to be a few stories regarding that one, but we'd have to see. So Neil saying Gibbs White at 60 million. There's a few Forest players. I don't want Nottingham Forest fans to come to the chat and hear us talking about how we're going to buy half their team. I don't think we'd be looking at getting this many players. But I think if you're looking at the situation at the club, then clearly I think the situation is going to be that Manchester United will be looking at a few targets. Like Morgan Gibbs White, I think he had a very strong game. I think Murillo is obviously going to be a consideration. I'd imagine that Nottingham Forest are a club that do quite a lot of efficient transfer deals. You saw last year that they sold Elanga. If the right price comes in, they will sell these players, but it has to be the right price. And I think Elanga, 60 million was a lot for Elanga. If you're looking at that as a guideline, I think Anderson might well cost. Now, if you're talking 100, I think he might cost that sort of amount, and it might be edging up a little bit more than that potentially. Yeah, let's say Murillo. Yeah, Murillo was he not available on the weekend, which I think it made a difference to your team actually. I think Murillo is like losing him for a few games is definitely not ideal. It's a bit like Chris Wood, like when Wood was out at the start of the season, it does affect Forest. But now Murillo's had a bit of issues being out. So is it hamstring or calf? I think with hamstring, got to be careful, not come back too soon. But no, he's someone that's definitely on the cards and been discussed because I think that he's a good football player and he would be someone. I don't know how much he would be available for. The rumor I saw this morning was potentially looking at that situation, and maybe with Murillo that he would be a good option for Manchester United. But I think Manchester United also need to be mindful that Nottingham Forest they're not going to sell players cheap. It might be the same situation as Brentford. Once one key player's gone, you're probably not going to be getting. Yeah, you're not going to get any bargains from Forest, are you? Well, big up to you, Danny. How much? I'm not sure actually, Andy. I'm not sure, but I think with some of the players Man United are looking to buy, that if we'd have bought them a year ago or 2 years ago, or we'd looked at actually trying to, if we'd actually looked at trying to get some of these players signed before, maybe it would have been a better deal as well. I'm saying good news with Matheus Fernandes that he's open to joining Manchester United by multiple sources incoming, says Lucky. Maybe I'll look into that and see that could be, yeah, definitely something worth considering. I have actually been looking a little bit today. I think Matheus Fernandes, there's going to be a few teams interested in Fernandes. So I think with United, I'd imagine that we could have a significant chance of getting him if we went for him. So I'm not really, I think he's a very good target. And I think Manchester United, like, if we could get him early, that would be pretty impressive, to be honest. Anderson is plan A. Let's see if we get on a one target. So the question, I suppose, is going to be: can Manchester United land their number one target? We did hear this is the thing that has been said as well on a few different sources. So I think when I was looking at news regarding Anderson, and this was the kind of the story that I think they were talking about Manchester United saying that at one point they prioritised Declan Rice. He went to Arsenal. And in the in the January transfer window, Manchester United kept saying, "Look, we're going to try and get Semenyo. He's our number one target." He obviously went to City. If Manchester United and most of the media, like everybody watching now, you know that Manchester United have said a few times that Elliot Anderson is their number one target. That's been put out there by a lot of journalists. If Manchester United don't get Elliot Anderson, then is it going to look bad on the club or is it just an unrealistic target? Like if Manchester United if we don't get Anderson, then and we get Tonali, will that be will that be considered Manchester United again? Maybe talking up their main target, missing out. Is that going to be a bit embarrassing? Obviously, Manchester United can have their top target, like Jay's saying, and it could be Anderson, and it looks like it's Anderson. But a lot of these things is Anderson going to be looking at other options as well? One of the things that was talked about a lot is if you watched the game on the weekend and you say followed the match when probably towards the end when Casemiro got substituted off, there was a fantastic ovation from the fans. There was it's a bit of an emotional point for the fans as well. But if you look at this, is this going to be a factor where Elliot Anderson looks at Manchester United and how Manchester United treats the players that have done well at United? It is something like a bit special at the club. Is that going to be a factor as well that you look at how high regard Casemiro's been seen in, and also is this the best option to replace Casemiro? Like in terms of Premier League option, is this somebody that we saw on the weekend that he can create chances? We saw on the weekend that his passing completion, forward passing is spot on, and it's incredibly good. And we know the defensive work he's put in throughout the season. No one wins the ball back more in the Premier League than Anderson, and the numbers are not close. Like if you want someone in your midfield to win the ball back, Elliot Anderson is, I think he's like way off like the rest of the team. So there's no one close to him at the moment. So do I think Casemiro would have stayed? I think Casemiro 100% was going to get substituted at some point in the game, and I don't think a booking was a factor. I think he was going to get substituted just because he'd get the standing ovation. So I wasn't really surprised, to be honest. I mean, I think if there could be reasons for it, but I'd have probably left some of the other players on. Yanni's saying in the last game of the season, so that Manchester United should go strong until Bruno gets his assist, then switch all the players and play switch five players and play the kids. I guess now maybe with Man United, it is a bit of a unique situation, isn't it? That there is this individual milestone that Bruno Fernandes has got, and maybe they do that. It's one way of motivating the team, isn't it? Like Bruno Fernandes created so many chances yesterday, he should already have the record, but it wasn't to be, unfortunately. Ornstein spoke about the player would equally happily join Manchester United, and this is like Matheus Fernandes and Carlos Baleba. I think they're going to be sensible options, aren't they? Like really sensible options as well. I think Manchester United will start a strong lineup on the weekend. I don't think we're going to see. I don't think we're going to see Manchester United switch loads, and you know, I don't think Man United are going to change the team massively, and then they're going to take the last game seriously. I think. Michael Carrick has got to. I think with this one, it's important for Michael Carrick just to maintain a good run of results and just keep the performance level high as well and not slack off. But also, I think for Bruno Fernandes, club captain, he wants to get that assist record as well. And I think Man United just want to finish the season strong. That there needs to be standards at the club now, and we need to make sure that we're looking to win every single game if possible. Even though the game doesn't really mean loads, I think it's another one where it's not an easy team. Like we've had a bit of a bogey team I think Brighton recently they knocked us out of the FA Cup. This is time for Michael Carrick to, beat another team that's caused us problems in the past. So yeah, I think with Murillo, it depends how much Murillo costs. That I've seen very big prices for him, unfortunately. Really. Welcome to chat, Gregory. It says our club is definitely wants Anderson even more so after his close-up performance. I think this is going to be one word. Do you see the Did anybody watch the there's some videos after the match where I think Elliot Anderson's walking, it must be walking to his car after the game or walking to the coach or something. And you could see people shouting out like, "Are we going to see you in like next season, Anderson?" And you could see, I think he was like smiling. So I think the fans and the crowd, obviously we can't influence what Man United's doing, we can't influence Anderson's decision, etc. But you can see that this would probably be the one signing that everybody agrees on. Like if I could say you can make one signing in the summer to start with, I think Anderson would probably be the main one. And it's not something that's happened overnight. It's something that he's been consistent for. Like say, last season, I thought he was good. I thought he was had a really good season. This season, he's just consistently been up there in terms of one of the best performing midfielders in a team that hasn't played that well. If you consider that his performances recently as well, with Forest, Forest don't have as much to play for now. They're safe in the league. They got knocked out of Europe, and Anderson still stepped up, got 2 assists, and could have caused us problems again. So I think he's one of these players that is just self-motivated. He looks a bit like how do people feel about the comparisons I've seen online this morning? That people saying that they're comparing him to Steven Gerrard, which also I'm not a massive fan of Steven Gerrard, but you have to admit he's a quality, was a very good player for Liverpool. And you see with Anderson, he's defensively good, passing wise, he's good. Creativity is good. I just think you can put Anderson next to any other midfielder and I think it's going to be, it's going to benefit them a lot. So I don't see a weakness in Anderson's game at the moment. And considering the age he's at, he could have a big World Cup. It could be someone that goes to the World Cup, does well in that competition against some elite teams, and maybe the price is even more. So I think I would really love to see Man United actually get stuck into this transfer window and make a serious offer. But you have to make sure that Yeah, if Anderson's not interested at all, it's going to be very difficult. But you'd have to imagine that Anderson is going to be open to like sensible offers. And I did speak to a Nottingham Forest fan on the weekend, and they were saying that maybe for his football career, that Manchester United would actually be a better move because he's going to be in the first team. He's going to play regular football. If you're looking at going to Manchester City, how many games is he going to start? He's going to start every single game. Is Rodri going to stay? And the other thing that maybe changes things as well, which we don't know how that's going to impact, is Jose Mourinho. Here we go back to Real Madrid. Does that change Real Madrid's strategy? That Real Madrid was supposed to be looking at Rodri. Rodri might stay. Too many Valverde. I mean, the situation there is like so up in the air. Who knows what happens with that one? It's going to be yeah, very up in the air, isn't it? Welcome to chat, Ian. Welcome, Corinne, as well. It says, we need to up our defensive output next season. This is something that, if you look at United, we got a situation where we now have three people on the team that have got double figures in goals. I think we might be the only team in the Premier League that's got three goal scorers in double figures. And those are the three players we signed last year. So we signed Benjamin Sesko, Mathis Cunha, and we got Mbeumo as well. And they're all in double figures, but all those transfers have actually worked out quite well over the season, and it's resulted in Manchester United scoring way more goals. The question is going to be now is over the whole season, like how do we improve like the defensive output of our team, like Corinne's saying, and Eddie Anderson I think does that. Manchester United we've had a situation this season where when Casemiro's left the pitch, we brought on Agate and we just we conceded more goals. We conceded a lot of late goals, and even yesterday we played very well, but we did concede. Okay, you'd have to say credit to Anderson for the first goal, really good cross, but we did concede a couple of goals. Like probably say the defensive work for Almajolo, you need to stop the cross. And you could probably say maybe we need to win the ball higher up the pitch or stop Anderson getting that far forward to make the pass into Gibbs White for the second goal. So you can still question our defence, but say that they were good goals. But we didn't give Forest loads of chances, but you almost need to try and limit them even more as well. So yeah, it's a tricky situation, but you have to look at trying to do that as well. So yeah, exactly. In a tighter game where I think sometimes United created so many chances yesterday, it shouldn't have really been a tight game. And if we'd have scored three goals but not conceded any, we'd be talking about a really comfortable win. In reality, 4-1, 4-2 would have been like a fair scoreline. And if we'd got five, considering we hit the post twice with Dallo and Mbeumo, those chances should be finished. Xerxes should have scored. Like we should have got four, like at least four. And I think we could have maybe been a bit better defensively and maybe cut down on like one of Forest's goals. So I don't think when you look at the scoreline, 3-2 makes it look like a quite close game, but in reality it shouldn't have been that close a game. And this is something United needs to try and work on as well. And I think having more mobile midfielders as well will help over the whole season. It's not just about one game, and like Casemiro is obviously a top quality player and wins his duels, etc. But Anderson will get around the pitch a bit more, win the ball back a little bit more, stop people running through our midfield, and I think would be an effective signing. We probably need to sign a couple of players, so we're not going to do it in one situation. Welcome, Don. Well, good to see you, Don. So, Dally not tracking Gibbs White. No, that's the kind of thing, isn't it? It's like you could look at it and say, good cross, good pass. You need to track your runners. You need to mark your people in the box. And once the cross has gone in and once the pass has gone in, it's too late, isn't it? It's they're quality assists, but this is something United need to work on next season. I think the defensive work. We're not making mistakes, but I think we're not putting in enough work regarding this one as well. So you can. This is kind of like scrutinizing. We've made big progress to go from, serious progress to go from 15th to third, but now it's about the next level, like making sure you finish third, playing in the Champions League. All these things are all these things are things to consider and things that Man United need to try and do as well. And I think if you're looking at it, these things that the players we're looking at, I think are players that are going to be addressing the issues we got. So looking at this one, is would people feel? I know we've talked about Anderson a lot. How would people feel if Manchester United didn't get Anderson? Do you think that it's not a big drama? There's a lot of other players we could go for. I have to say, I have to be honest and say, if Manchester United got Tonali instead of Anderson, I think Tonali needs to step up a bit because I don't think his defensive work is on point or is as good as Anderson. I think there's definitely like I'm not going to say Tonali's a bad player, but I think Elliot Anderson is more effective, wins the ball back a lot more than Tonali. You're going to see someone that regains possession more. Tonali's like is a good player, but for me, it feels expensive for what he brings to the team. I would be no, I think United would definitely benefit from signing a player like Tonali, but I don't think it'd be for me, it wouldn't be as exciting as getting someone like Anderson. I think Anderson feels like a ready-made player that you could drop into Manchester United and you'd get a quality player there. Because my thought is going to be if you don't get Anderson, someone else is going to benefit from him. He's at an age now where he's a very good player. The fact he's this good at this age, I think is someone that is going to be. Can you imagine in a couple of years, because Anderson is improving year on year, a couple more years, and I think you're looking at one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. And I want him to be a Manchester United player. I don't see that I don't see him getting worse. I don't see games where there's not like he's not a one trick pony. He's because he's very good on the attacking side and he's very good defensively as well. Um, if Anderson has a bad game, then I think he'll still have a big impact as well. I'd say Tonali, nothing compared to Anderson, a level below. So Danny, no, I would rather go for Tchouaméni than Tonali. I don't know if that's particularly. I don't know if that's particularly realistic. It depends on what's happening with. Maybe we're going to find out something relatively quickly with what happens in Spain. And I don't know if Don in Spain can help us out with anything going on in Spain, but the too many situation could be interesting based on what's going to happen at Real Madrid. Like, what's Mourinho going to want to do? Is Mourinho going to get is Mourinho going to get much say on what happens in Real Madrid, or is he just there to try and kind of stabilize it? Which feels a bit crazy, isn't it? Mourinho going there to stabilize something, but we'll have to see how that works out. But he said if Anderson is keen, you have to go all out. Future captain for 10 years as Don in Spain. Does that mean that you would be looking at going for a big transfer fee? Like, does it matter? Does it actually matter what Anderson costs? Like, is this one of those players that it doesn't matter what they cost? You just need to get them because United spent a lot on Rio Ferdinand at the time, and that was about 30 million, and it must have been like 22 or 3 years ago. It was a long time ago now. And if you're looking at how much money we spent on Rio Ferdinand, I think it was was it world record for defender, or it was like a record for a Premier League defender. It was up there in terms of like most expensive signings at the time. And I think maybe this would be something similar that you're buying from Premier League clubs. They're going to push the price up. Maybe it could be one of the more expensive players moving from Premier League club to Premier League club, possibly. I mean, probably not as much as however much Isak cost, but certainly in terms of like Caicedo, Declan Rice, I wouldn't rule out that sort of money for a player. And those were a few years ago as well, so this is actually probably slightly cheaper. And so yeah, if you're not going to get, I think there's going to be if you remember as well that Napoli won yesterday, so money's coming in from Rasmus being sold as well. Lucky's saying you're saying that too many wants to join Manchester United. Do you have a source for that as well? Ian's saying much better than Tonali as well. I think like Newcastle fans will tell you as well that um, Bruno Guimaraes is actually the guy at Newcastle. If you want to get the best player in Newcastle, it's not Tonali. Like Tonali's a bit younger, I'll give you that, but it's not the best player that plays for that club. I'd say good game yesterday. If we had a recognised striker like Sesko, we would have scored a lot more. Exactly. I think yesterday showed a few things, didn't it? One of the things it showed us was that Manchester United, at this point in time, were creating a lot of chances. And just if Manchester United scored a couple of goals early on, if Mbeumo had finished that chance and we'd had, I think, Dalot finishing that chance, Manchester United could have been like 3 or 4 up. And it might like the kind of like comeback that Forest had. might not have even happened because they would have nothing to play for at that point in time. So Gregory's saying that Anderson is very impressive, would go a long way to fixing the spine of our team. Is that, do you remember if you're looking at some good teams in the past, I think Chelsea's quite a good example where you have like Chelsea had a very good goalkeeper, very good centre back, very good midfielder. So you got like Lampard, you got Terry, you got Petr and you've got Drogba. So you got the spine of your team. You could argue you got a world class player in each position. At the moment for Manchester United, we've got Bruno Fernandes creating loads of chances. We don't have a world class midfielder behind him now. We've got Koemani, who's only just turned 21, so potentially in the future he could hit another level as well. If you drop Anderson in there, and with Mainu, I think one of those is going to be, say, in a couple of years' time, you could be looking at a top quality midfield there. And you could look at Aiden Heaven, potentially him in a few years' time as well, could be like your leader at the back. But again, I think United have got the building blocks in place, but it's going to take a couple of years for these players to hit the kind of ceiling that we're hoping to get to. I think maybe at the moment, you could probably argue actually that Lamans, the goalkeeper Lamans, is probably the closest Man United have got to a player currently now that's going to be regular in the first team week in, week out for the next decade. So Lamans could be the goalkeeper. I think he's obviously improving. And he hasn't even gone through a whole season yet. So um, would I sign Anderson? No, clearly we're not going to be spending £250 million on Anderson, £300 million. But for me, I would spend if it meant Manchester United didn't get say a centre back, I would go for that. Put it that way. If Manchester United signed Anderson and we got another couple of midfielders, I would probably say, look, if we get left back cover or we go for like a loan deal for a striker, I wouldn't worry as much. We've got another players. I'd rather we went for quality over quantity. Like obviously we need to make sure we got enough players, but I'd rather go for in terms of like the big money signings, I'd rather go for three very expensive players that fit perfectly than like four or five less quality ones. You still get good players, but ultimately, if Man United want to be the top team in the Premier League, you need to have the best players, don't you? Like you need to have the best players. So we might disagree on this, but I would say for me, I would spend slightly more on Anderson and then slightly less on a backup player or slightly less on the defense as a whole. That would be my kind of idea about this one. But Yali said that you would spend as much as 140 million for Anderson. He is that good. He is very good. He is very good. 140 is like has potentially stretching it a bit, but I don't think we're going to have to spend, to be honest, that much we got for him. Berber says, so at the moment, though, we don't know how much the budget's going to be, do we? We don't know how much it's going to cost. So I think with this one that there's no kind of there's no one's thinking that it's going to cost 140. Let's be honest. So no one's pushing that out there. But I think people are trying to test test me in terms of how much I want Anderson. Clearly, I want Anderson, but I'm not going to say spend 200 million on him, am I? So if Forest want 125. That is a lot of money, and I think United should be getting the price down from that. But when it comes to like 90, 100 million, I think, look, if you spend 100 million and you've got Manchester United's midfielder for the next decade, it's not going to seem like a lot of money, is it? Like if you spend 30 million pounds and 3 years later that player's gone, some people think, oh, okay, it's only 30, but this adds up, doesn't it? So a few players wasted money on players that aren't quite good enough is worse, I think, than spending big. I mean, is Anderson the least risky big price signing we can make? I think it is. Like, I think it is going to be that. I'd say I'd love to sign Anderson, but if it's half our budget, I don't think it is though. I don't think it is half our budget. So I think just spend the money and get this as well. Yeah, exactly. It's not going to be that much, is it? That you heard it here first. It's not going to be 140 million people. Um, No, it could be something along the lines of I would not be surprised if it's like 100 plus some add-ons, something like that. I think Caicedo might have been something similar. I think Declan Rice might have been something similar as well. That the price people quote isn't necessarily the price you pay to start with. There might be some add-ons there as well. So why don't Man United make an offer to Nottingham Forest for something like 90 plus? 10 add-ons to start with, see what they say. That because for me, that's I think everybody would agree that he's going to cost at least that sort of money. If Alanga costs 60 million, Anderson's worth 100. That let's say with new PSR rules and amortization and Champions League needs to go big this window. This is probably the best time as well. This is and Gregory says United fans have been misinformed about our club's budget. I don't know. Are we, Gregory? I think most people think Man United can spend. If you look at United over the last season, they did keep saying that they can't afford to spend last season because of the situation. So Jim Radcliffe himself actually said in a couple of years' time, we're going to be the most profitable club. We'll be able to spend big. I mean, we're on that way. We're actually making a profit this season. So Manchester United posted first quarter profits. I'd imagine that we'll probably be getting profits coming out soon again. So if we're making profit again as well, I think that United can easily spend a few hundred million, like easily spend a few hundred million. If you consider that finishing finishing third instead of 15th gives you an extra 30 million just from the Premier League. So, and every club in the Premier League gets at least 100 million in prize money from the Premier League. Manchester United's ground is the biggest ground. We've been on TV more as well this season because we keep playing on Monday. All these sort of things are actually, all these sort of things are kind of pushing it in the favour that Man United. There's money to spend, isn't there? That and every single season the people talk about money every single season and they push it out and say, "Oh, Man United." They pretend they can't spend, but everybody knows that Man United can spend. Like, say, if 250 to 350 gets the deal done, Gaz, I think it's even if people want to talk about net spend, Rasmus coming in to get sold, Anana being sold, Xerxes and Agate potentially being sold, the money off the money off the wage bill as well. All these factors indicate that Man United, we got a low wage bill, we got potential to spend, we got potential to hand out sensible contracts as well. It's yeah, it's it's reminding me that's reminding me of like a Notorious B.I.G. song, to be honest, definitely. Um, so the summer should be half a billion spend minimum. Can you imagine if I made a thumbnail and put 500 like or put 500 million spend? People would think I was like absolutely crazy. But if you look at it, if Liverpool can spend that sort of money, Manchester United's turnover was about 660, about 660 million was a turnover for last season, and that was with actually no, this season it's expected to be that, and that's with no Champions League football. So you give Champions League football to Manchester United, you got United are getting 20 million for just having like a logo on a sleeve, aren't they, or for the training kit? So the United will have like plenty of money to spend, but I don't think it's going to be throwing around crazy money. I think United, when you're looking at saying, I think this is going to be something along the lines of how the deal will be structured. I can't remember how much exactly it was structured with Caicedo, but I think a lot of that, I think there was a reasonable amount of add-ons that made it up to whatever it was, like 112, 116. So I think if you're looking at this, if Manchester United offer this sort of money, they probably paid something similar for Paul Pogba, and that's going back quite a bit of time now. So that in terms of like how much this is, I think it's relatively similar to what we paid back then. But if you spend 90 million plus 15, because I said didn't I, about 10 minutes ago, I think Wheels are better on the same wavelength. Then if you look at this, say 90 plus 15 or something lands Anderson, I think it might be something like that, where United can spend 19, maybe 15 million is going to be based on appearances, maybe some of it's going to be based on getting in the Champions League next season. And I think that's going to be a sensible way of structuring the deal. If United make that sort of offer, like can City, like if City are actually playing by the rules, can City actually offer another big contract, another big signing? Because they spent a lot of money recently. And so United probably won't want this offer reported as it causes ripples in what other clubs will ask for their midfields. Now, this could be a situation where when the transfer window kicks on and starts, there's going to be, so this is like 89 million. And that's probably, how many years ago was that now that we bought Paul Pogba? I think relatively speaking, it must be kind of similar sort of money. If Manchester United offered that sort of money, and it is crazy money, is there going to be then a ripple in the transfer market? Because it happened last year, didn't it? It happened last year where players towards the end of the season, Worcester was going for nearly 60, Alanga went for 60, Gittins went for 60. All these players are going for 60. Cunha was like about that price. It felt a little bit like it felt a little bit like that if you got your deals done early last season, you got some good deals. Like you managed to get a good deal if you went early in the window. Whereas if you were trying to sign players on the last couple of weeks of the transfer window, it was going to be a massive disaster, wasn't it, for everybody? Alanga 60. When I saw that and like Gittins for 60, it made me think, right, how much can we get for Garnacho? If Alanga's 60, I mean, what has Alanga done this season, to be honest? Like, what has he done? Like, I know he had a decent season for Forest. I think it was mainly assists because of his pace and you could probably say that Alanga's performance for Nottingham Forest was not too dissimilar from Dan James at Man United, where he was just rapid on the counter attack and but he wasn't going to get loads of goals. He wasn't. He was getting a decent number of assists, but 60 million was I don't know. It was a very strange one. Welcome, Brill, to the chat. Kate said you're happy to take Anderson or Tonali, but we can't. Yeah, we can't mess about for this at all. You probably have to pay roughly whatever it takes, I guess. When I do polls and say like how much would people pay, I think people tend to. I think a lot of people look at the accounts and thinks let's make sure we don't spend too much. But I think you have to also look at it and say, yeah, United have to be serious. Like it's one of the best players we got that we can try and sign. So we have to try and make sure we get these top targets in. For me, Tonali, if you look at the data on Tonali as well, he is very good in the duels, but he doesn't win back possession as much. His passing is decent, but I think Tonali is actually a decent player in a lot of regards, but he doesn't hit the highs. And if you want someone that's going to be a very good passer of the ball, someone that's going to be a lot more creative, then Wharton's a better option for me. I think Wharton's a top quality player as well. But I think Tonali's like a decent all rounder, but for the money, I don't think you get someone that's as good. That's the question. So I don't think you could get. I don't think with Tonali you get a player that's worth the money you end up paying. That's kind of my reaction with Tonali. I think he's a good player, but I'd rather get Bruno Guimaraes if assuming Bruno Guimaraes doesn't have issues fitness wise. But no, it's a judgment call, isn't it? Tonali's good, but um, he's not close to Anderson in my view. So so if Anderson doesn't come, we'll have to say we'll go for Matheus Fernandes. And so you think he'd cost that sort of amount of money? I think Matheus Fernandes feels like an achievable target, like a very achievable target. So if we're going to have a conversation about Anderson, I think Man United they need to have these talks. So there will be talks going on. I know that I don't believe a lot of Twitter sources, but there will be talks going on with most players Man United are interested in. These won't be publicised. So if someone reports on it, I'd imagine Manchester United will be trying to keep things as low key as possible. But there will be talks to find out if it's worth making an offer. Like no, Manchester United don't make an offer for a football player unless they think the player's actually going to sign. I think last season I don't think we made an offer for any other player apart from the four we bought. So I don't think Man United are going to be like slapping a big offer on the table for Anderson unless Anderson indicates that he would be interested. And in which case, it would be interesting actually to see what happens if Anderson was like actually happy to go to either Manchester club and Nottingham Forest just want the biggest, the biggest amount of money, which obviously they do then can Manchester United match City? Like financially, we should be able to. It's just I think it's a matter of ambition. Like if we look at Anderson and think he's the best option for us, we should go for it. Like we shouldn't be we shouldn't be looking at wasting too much time in the window. It might be that is I think the Forest man I spoke to on the stream about 20 minutes ago said that he can see this deal happening quite quickly or not happening for a long time. So as in, like, if Manchester United can get this deal done rapidly, I think it gets done. If the World Cup then, if you take too long, because the World Cup starts before the transfer window opens, so it feels like Man United need to get this groundwork done before the transfer window opens, and then get this deal done maybe get it done in principle before the World Cup starts, so there's no distraction around it. Otherwise, I can see Anderson wanting. I can see it taking place after, which for me would be a bit of a nightmare. Um, and I think that no, I think Dan was right in the chat. I think Dan was right. Will Vinny's voice, big up to you. Good to see you in the chat. So Elliot Anderson plus Angela Stiller would be a great pair midfield. So you could look at it this way and say if Manchester United spend very big on Elliot Anderson, which he is gonna be a very expensive signing. If Manchester United spend very big on Elliot Anderson, the next thing is going to be how much money have they got left for the rest of midfield? And I think you could look at someone like Stiller. And actually, I know people aren't very keen, but if you look at someone like Edison at Atalanta, he literally has the same profile as Elliot Anderson, but obviously he's a few years older. He plays in La Liga, yeah, he plays in Serie A for Atalanta. So I think he's someone that Man United like as potentially a backup. So maybe United would be looking at trying to sign an Angela Stiller or a Fernandez, who I think are both very good players. And maybe Edison is being considered as potentially one of those cheaper options that comes in, who would probably be a good backup for a few years for Manchester United. So I think there's definitely there is like a few options that work. I think if once you go for big money, I think if Manchester United were looking at spending very big on one player, I think the best two targets available, if they are available, would be Elliot Anderson and too many. And beyond that, I think you need to look at what is the best option and probably someone like Fernandez would be good. I think Angela Stiller would be a good option. I think Wharton's a good option, though. I think he's going to Liverpool, and so there are good options out there, but it wouldn't feel quite as good. So, Kate, I think you're 100% correct with this one. If Manchester United put in a bid, like a serious offer for Elliot Anderson, it means that we get enough indication from the player that he would be interested in the move. It's like number one, stage one for Man United's transfers these days is speak to the player, find out if he's interested. If he's not interested, we move on. Apparently, do you remember the source Ebola? That's a Portuguese, must be, I think it's a Portuguese daily newspaper. And they kept running a story with Manchester United and Gyökeres, where I think Manchester United did have some talks. I think they met Gyökeres' representatives, or they had some conversations, but they were actually not interested then. So the Gyökeres wasn't interested, so Manchester United did not make an official bid. I think it was printed in Portuguese media that Man United had made an offer, but Manchester United did not make an offer for Gyökeres because he wasn't interested. And actually, Newcastle did make an offer for Benjamin Sesko, despite Sesko not even returning the calls from their manager, if you remember that story. So yeah, there's no point in making an offer you haven't spoken to the player first. It's just wasting everybody's time. And to be honest, it shows that Man United have got a sensible strategy as well. Um, no, I say Edison, not Edison, the Edison, the Atalanta midfielder they're talking about. If you look at Edison, the Atalanta midfielder, then everything in terms of like progressive passes, winning back possession, duels, I think percentage of passes forward, etc. All the sort of things that Edison does, all the sort of things that Anderson does in the Premier League. Edison does that in Serie A, but I would say that it's in Serie A. It's not going to be as a high quality opposition, so the numbers will be, to be honest, it would be a bit lower. Yeah, I always say that. I have to make sure I pronounce it properly with like an A, then a bit of a gap. But I think it's equivalent to like the Sun newspaper in the UK. I think it just sensationalizes everything, and it's like Fischales in the media outlet in Spain that I think always runs stories saying Man United are offering money for Valverde or something like that. It's not always going to be, yeah, it's not always going to be accurate, is it? Um, so wondering when did we sign our first choice targets? So I guess with this one, you could probably say maybe like a year ago, that I think Cunha and Mbeumo were our top targets, weren't they? That we looked at those players first. They were our top targets. We looked at loads of goalkeepers, but our top goalkeeping target in the end was Sen Lamens. So you could argue that in terms of like last season, I think last season we got our top targets, didn't we? I think Benjamin Sesko was considered our top target. in terms of like strikers. We did look at a few other people, but I think Vivell was pushing for Sesko for most of the window. So I'm guessing that we those were our top targets. We did look at Semenyo last summer, but he wasn't considered the top target then. So no, I think it was no, I think we did get our top targets last summer. I think that the stories coming out in January don't really help, do they? When we said Semenyo was our top target, but no, I think the one we missed out on last year is I believe that Delap the player that went to Chelsea, he was apparently our top target then, but obviously we missed out on him. But it was fortunate we missed out on him. If anyone's got any suggestions for any polls we could run for the rest of the stream, let me know. But um, so the speed difference in the Premier League from Serie A is a huge ask for it. It's one of those things that it's got to be a factor, isn't it? I think the factor with this one would be that the player would be a lot cheaper, and it for me it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like it doesn't seem like the most sensible situation, but you can see why they're looking at it. That again, you'd have to question whether when you've got someone like Edison that's been in the Serie A for so long, then suddenly moves into the Premier League. He's only 26, but yeah, is he going to be able to be? I suppose it's like the speed thing that's the big issue. One thing you could say is that with Edison, he is quite physical. He is a strong player, so maybe for him, he's going to be more likely to work than some signings. But it's not the most. To be honest, it's not an exciting signing for me as well. So I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a big, yeah, a big issue. That would be for someone. This going to be a bit of a cheaper signing, isn't it? Yeah, I won't worry too much about the budget. I think if you make a poor signing, it's a poor signing, and if you make a good signing, no one cares how much. If Sen Lamens had cost twice the amount, then yeah, Ebola means the ball in Portuguese, but it doesn't translate too well into English. That's unfortunate for them, but it's one of those things. Um, No, so if people got any final questions or any sort of questions, is it worth running a poll, or does everybody agree the same thing that if Anderson's the top target, and I think most people feel that's the case, what would be sensible if Man United didn't get Anderson, for example? Because that's something you have to consider that even though, yeah, even though people are looking at it thinking Anderson's going to be the obvious top target, what happens if Man United don't get him? Like, what do you go for then? Like, is there a backup choice? Like, is Tonali going to be a good enough option? Because I look at Tonali and think I'm not sure Tonali would be no, a good choice as backup option. I think he's an okay player. I'm not going to say like a rubbish signing, but I'm not sure he addresses some of the issues we got on the pitch. That's the one thing I would think. And you're saying that the midfield that gives us everything, Matheus Fernandes, Carlos Baleba, Hjulmand. Hjulmand looks a bit lightweight for the Premier League, I think, to be honest. Then that would be, for me, a little bit of a. I'd be a bit concerned regarding that one. Tonali or too many if yeah, Mourinho would let him go. Yeah, so I've got this order in my head, and it's Anderson's top. Right? If we can get Anderson, we sign him almost whatever it takes, as long as the deal's like borderline sensible. As long as Forest aren't taking the absolute piss, I think we should go for Anderson. My second option would be, and again, this depends what Mourinho does at Real Madrid, would be too many. I think too many is a top quality player. Addresses loads of things as well, loads of good things that we need. And I would go for him as like the other backup option. After those two players, I feel like there's a drop off, and I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what I go for next. So I think when you look at it, Manchester United clearly there's obviously Anderson is the favourite target, and then beyond that you look at it and go right to Tonali, too many possibly. I think if you're going to look in the Premier League, then I'm guessing with this one that did we miss the boat for João Gomez? I don't think Manchester United are actually interested. That I think he's good. Like I think he's good, but I don't think he's interested. I'd say best four possible players for Cake is Anderson, too many, Tonali, and Wharton. And say if we don't get one of them, I would be actually thinking that close to that must be. I think Mathis Fernandez must be like getting close to that, breaking into that group of people. Like if give him another season, I think he's going to be one of those top players. But I think if United are looking to address the issue in midfield, it feels like you've got to get one of those players, doesn't it? Like if you don't get one of those players, yeah, it'd be tricky. If I was Barada, what target objectives would you give Carrick for next season? I think you've got to. I think as a minimum, you've got to get Champions League football again. A lot of it depends on what Man United do in the transfer window. If we fix midfield, then I think United should do significantly better in domestic competitions. We should be getting to the knockout stage of the Champions League, and it depends on squad depth. But I think in terms of this, if Man United can do exactly what they did in the Premier League this season, and over the since January, we picked up more points than anybody. So this is obviously moving in the right direction. If Man United can do that while playing two games a week, I think that's going to be more difficult. And then if Man United can finish, if we finish third next season, got to like I don't know the quarterfinals of Europe, did okay domestic cups, I think then you've got to look at what sort of transfer window can you put in to or can you do to actually try and win the Premier League? Like you've got to try and get closer each season. I think it's always difficult moving from this season to a season where you've got European football because you've got to play more games, you've got to rotate more. That's something that no one can guess whether Michael Carrick's going to be able to do that because we just don't know. We just don't know what he can do in terms of like rotating the squad. But I think that the objectives have got to be maintain the standards in the Premier League, like as a minimum, and then do better in all competitions. Like we can't be not being knocked out of the League Cup and the FA Cup in one match. Like that's we're not Spurs. We need to be better than that, and we can't just like be passengers in the Champions League. We need to actually look at doing that. I'm saying Anderson's greatest asset is his passing. That's something that was highlighted on the weekend as well, and it's something that, as I did say, that I don't very often agree with Gary Neville, but I did think he was accurate here in his assessment and said the thing that elevates Elliot Anderson above other targets is going to be what he did yesterday and what he did against Manchester United. Elliot Anderson creates he created a world. The first goal Nottingham Forest scored if Bruno Fernandes had put that cross in, we'd all be talking about it. And I'm talking about it a bit today because I think that was a top quality assist. And then the pass to Morgan Gibbs White, I think that was a good pass, very good finish. So I think you look at this as in terms of it's his passing, isn't it? Like he got 90% success rate yesterday as well against Manchester United, who were on top for most of the game. So there's lots of positives about his performance on the weekend. We're probably going to be playing Brighton probably we might be making an assessment about Belieber after next weekend because we'll be playing Brighton then. Also, anybody watching, thanks for clicking the like. 31 likes so far on the video. If you're able to share the stream, at the moment, YouTube doesn't really send the video out to anyone that isn't a subscriber. So to get new subscribers is going to be very tricky. But if you're able to share the stream on socials, that might help a little bit. Just any socials you're on, just share the stream. There's a button below, I think below of the stream, if you're watching it on your phone, just click share and just share it to someone on I don't know any platform you're on, and it will help because gradually YouTube will stop promoting things, but I think it's just going to take potentially like another couple of weeks, which is a bit frustrating. Um, so you press the mute button when Gary Neville speaks. Yeah, exactly. I think that one as well. Yeah, when Gary Neville speaks, to be honest, actually, there's going to be a watch along on the channel on the weekend. I think we're going to have our guys back. So Helgi and G Wolf will be back on the channel next weekend. So you don't have to listen to Gary Neville. You can like listen to some Man United fans at the same time if you want to do that as well. And don't forget to hype the stream as well if you're able to do that on your phones. And again, obviously likes is a key thing as well, but sharing the stream just gets it out there a bit more as well. I'll just say Gary Neville doesn't like Manchester United. It seems that he's not a Man United. I know he's supposed to be impartial, but I don't think he likes Man United too much at all. So no, to be honest, if I had to, I did see there is like if someone's right, there is a lot of online petition, isn't there, to try and get him off commentary. I think more importantly though, there are some legends that are worth listening to, and that's like Patrice Evra. I think Giggs and Ferdinand were talking about players as well. So some of the people that are not necessarily on big platforms are not trying to. I think the people that are trying to what's the word? Like Gary Neville's trying to basically buy fan TV, isn't he? So he's trying to buy. He's bought the United stand. I think gradually they're trying to just buy fan channels and just get rid of fan channels completely to silence kind of the voices of people that actually have different opinions to theirs. So no, exactly. Gary Neville is Mark Goldbridge's boss now, which is true. And Mark Goldbridge did actually say loads of positive stuff about Gary Neville about 2 days later, if you noticed that. So I mean, Gary Neville is definitely not my boss and will never be my boss either. So, but I did say this that he was right with this though, that Elliot Anderson, the strengths he's got is his forward passing, his vision on the ball, and we can agree on that. So that this is why I think like Tonali doesn't have that. You could actually argue that too many could have that, but too many does play a bit. Yeah, I think too many could be the one player that is going to be that one as well. Yeah, I think Scholes is a bit unprofessional in terms of like I know he's on his social media and he can say what he likes, but I think it's a bit embarrassing to. I don't understand the campaign, the media campaign against Michael Carrick. 'Cause this is another win for Manchester United, and the win rate percentage now for Michael Carrick must be getting close to 70%, which is really really good, like really good. Um, I think so. I don't know why though. It's a bit disappointing, isn't it? Mm. We all have a little bit. We all have a little bit of a bias. I'm quite biased, but I try to be fair. I'm fair. So I think I'm obviously biased against other football teams, but I try to be fair regarding Man United. That there's a lot of things there. Big up to DJ in the chat as well. So the attempt to silence fan channels independence. I think this is the problem, isn't it? That when you see a lot of fan channels, there's not many there that I think the smaller ones say what they like because they feel that they're not going to be noticed anyway. But I think some of the bigger ones are now mindful of what they're saying because like, I'm not here to upset people's on their opinions, and I'm not here to attack players personally either, which seems to be quite popular on a lot of forums. I think here is like we're looking at Manchester United, we're looking at news, and we want to see the best for the club. So I'm looking at things in a positive way, and I know there's like things wrong with the club, but we're focusing on like how can we put things right. And I think sometimes people are being, I think they're just being controversial. You know, when you see sometimes that meme that goes, "Ooh, edgy," I think they're just trying to be edgy and they're trying to say things that are controversial because there's not always a story out there, is there? And that's probably the thing that if you look at the game yesterday, the key thing I took out of the game yesterday was Manchester United were a very dominant team. We created chance after chance after chance, and in a team that we were punishing for a lot of the game, Elliot Anderson stood out and fought back, and he was the only person I think actually say Gibbs White nice finish. But without Anderson in that team, I think Forest get completely crushed. Like, and if Man United had clinical finishers, we'd have scored like 4 or 5 goals. We'd have scored like an extra couple of goals. But without Elliot Anderson in the team gives you fight, and that's something I was thinking. Yeah, Man United need to get someone like Anderson in the team because I think he's going to be a world class player in the future, isn't he? And yeah, for people that don't know the football rules, then it might be confusing. But if you look at the actual rules, the rules are like with handling and all these things, it's only going to be disallowed if there's a goal immediately after the handball. And for there to be a goal immediately after the handball, then Mbeumo has to. If Mbeumo scores that goal, I don't think it's allowed. by the rules. But as soon as Mbeumo doesn't score that and the ball goes to Cunha and Cunha scores, I think under the rules it's 100% accurate. And I had a referee on the channel yesterday that said yes, it is. It is no, it is going to be. It should stand because it's a legitimate goal. But this is the situation. Can you imagine if Elliot Anderson went to City and didn't get in the team? And they just played Rodri and they have Anderson on the bench. Can you imagine that? It would be yeah. I'm not going to. What I'll say is that I don't really want to comment on other fan channels, but what we can do is that we can build from the ground upwards and just build a community that has different views that are respected and are sensible, and that's what we're trying to do on United TV. So that's kind of why I restarted the channel. I think it is definitely important to have an independent voice for people to come on. And if you tuned in as well, and if you tune in on the weekend, we do call-in shows, etc., and that's kind of part of it as well. My voice is going a bit. I'm being silenced. Those crosses by Anderson were world class. What's happening? So he's a baller. I'll be over the moon if we sign him. For some reason, I'm like a voice breakdown. Yeah, I will in a second. Uh, If Pepper's going, why would Anderson want to go to City? They can't even fill their ground. And that's a good point, DJ. That's a good point. Yeah, I think with something I've seen recently as well is that, and like for Funshu, Gregory, etc., everybody else, that I think some of these streams that we're watching, that you guys are watching on the channel, I think the only people that know the stream's happening are people that already subscribed. So I don't think there's anyone watching now that isn't a subscriber. So in terms of growing the channel, I think the only way to grow the channel is just to reach more people. And the only way to do that is probably for people that, like yourself, other people in the chat, just to share the stream. And then gradually, one or two people will find it. And I think that eventually YouTube will realize what sort of people are watching the channel. But no, that's the only way. That's the only way of growing the channel at the moment, unfortunately. So I did a stream on the weekend and that it said like 97% of people that were viewers were already subscribed. So there's literally no one new watching it, unfortunately. It's a bit annoying because it's a really good community and it'd be nice to grow it a little bit more. But that's why if you're watching and able to share the stream, it's the most important thing you can do. It's pet, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Okay, you almost saw it. You almost saw freedom of speech being silenced, but my voice recovered remarkably. Um, but no, I'll be so Gary Neville. No, thank you, Fanshu. Also, I say tonight there's going to be say lots of channels. I think it's true though. I think it's a lot of it's true for people that want to help. Something that a couple of weeks ago, or maybe like 3 weeks ago, lots of people were leaving comments on the videos. Lots of people were sharing the streams, and it really did help. And I think things have gone a bit quiet recently, but if you're like RK, Stephanie, if you're able to share or comment, if you're able to like, one of the most important things you could do is if you watch a lot of Manchester United fan channels, and then you then watch say a video, and when I finish this live stream, if you then jump onto like a previous video I've done recently, and then just leave comments or things like that, that sort of thing will just really help YouTube kind of sort itself out, and hopefully that will happen rather quickly. Did I see Dermot Gallagher's comments? Was that where he said that he thought it was a mistake and he would have disallowed the goal? I did see it. I did see that, and so I did see the Dermot Gallagher comments, and I thought he was talking bollocks, to be honest, to put it in a technical word. So I just thought it was. I thought when he was saying that. Dermot Gallagher's been put on. He's been asked a question because they want him to say he'd have disallowed it, and it's like, come on, guys, that there's a professional referee looking at the evidence and saying, look, according to the rules of the game, the ball hit his arm, deflected off him to start with, and he doesn't score immediately, so there's nothing to say here. Then the ball goes to someone else, he scores. Yeah, that's all I've got. I say, Rich, you could do that 500 million thumbnail and talk about who you might spend 500 million on. Yeah, it could be a lot, could be an idea. We're just going to be talking about the news, to be honest. Is Rich more positive and less critical of Man United than who? Than who is that? Then I think everybody has different views, don't they? But I was quite critical a year ago, but we finished 15th. And then I think when you look at it now, then I think, yeah, when he was referee, there's probably been about 10 rule changes of the handball situation. So maybe he doesn't know anymore. Maybe he doesn't know the rules. Who knows? Who knows? But it's not an issue, is it? It's like not an issue. But I think people that read the rules just looked at it and went, "Okay, fair play. It's a goal because of based on the rules, it should stand." And I think that's 100% accurate, like completely accurate. So, does anyone want a poll in the chat? Because I do quite like to sometimes canvass opinions. It seems that we're very agreeable today, though. It seems that everybody's agreeing on the same thing. Everybody wants Anderson, and I remember when I first started talking about Anderson about maybe a year ago, maybe 18 months ago, there was other targets people wanted. And I think at the time there was Belieber being discussed loads as well. And at the moment, it feels a bit like we're giving, let's say, if we must get Anderson at all costs, then just give Forest what they want. But they want, what do Forest actually want is the question. Like when they say they want 125, I don't think they were going to get 125. It's exactly the same as West Ham saying they want 84 for Fernandez. They're not going to get 84 for Fernandez. If Manchester United spent 125 on Anderson, what would happen in the transfer window? Would Matheus Fernandes cost 70 million? Would we see I don't know, João Gomez costing like 60? Could we see something crazy? Because 125 million is the price that apparently they put out there. I don't think we agree on the price. So I think they disagree on the price. Then should we give them 125 million? No. Does anybody think like, okay, I saw someone earlier in the chat say they'd give him 140. Would you give would you spend 125 million on Anderson? Are people should we do that poll? Should we like put 125 million there and see who would actually pay that much money? Like what do you think the result would be? I'm going to put that in the poll because this is probably peak Anderson hype time, isn't it? Anderson's just turned up at Old Trafford, scored, created a couple of assists, and yeah, if you remember the situation with Roy Keane and Alex Ferguson basically phoned him up, didn't he? Did he go round to his house or get him round to his house? So, should United break the bank for Anderson? So this is so how much we put in? 125 million. This is crazy, isn't it? If you think Man United should though, then vote yes, and then I'll be able to use this. Next time I speak to some people, I can say what percentage people would go. So should United spend 125 million on Anderson? Yes, no. That's massive money, like really massive money. Um, but we'll see what people think. So I'm kind of intrigued to know what the result's going to be. So please vote. If you just tuned in or you've been watching for a while, please vote on this poll. And you can put your comments in the chat as well, and we'll go through them. But please vote in that one if you can. That would be really interesting to see. And then also if you could click the like, share the stream as well, that would be very much appreciated. Do you think 80 to 90? My guess is going to be 90 plus add-ons, like 90 plus add-ons, and I think the add-ons might take it over 100. That's my guess. So DJ says it's crazy money. So that would be 125 plus add-ons. So it's crazy money. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to be that sort of money, but you never know, do you? I don't think you'd go for that sort of money. So Forest are not going to budge below 110, says Tabassis. I think 100 like is going to be the minimum. Like I think that's going to be the minimum. But this is the free vote. So if you think it's going to be if you would pay for 125, then it's not going to go more than that. So if Forest say, look, 125, we turned down 100, 125, the guy's yours. That's what we're going to look at. And I think Caicedo was about 115. And how many years ago was Caicedo? Like a few years ago. So you're looking at probably roughly similar. Anyway, it's a free vote. So Berber says, I don't really mind what we spend if we get all the bases covered. I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be difficult to cover everything you want in one window. And maybe what you're looking at is if Manchester United signed Anderson for that sort of money, you'd have to compromise a little bit. Like you'd have to compromise a bit on. So say that means that instead of getting Belieber, you then, and this might be actually preferable for some people, instead of getting Belieber, maybe you have to go cheaper and buy a different player. So it could be that Man United actually go for cheaper options because of that reason. So it could be that maybe Man United then have a look at Sangare or they do have a look at Buwadi if they can get them cheaper instead of going for like another Premier League midfielder. And maybe we could get a better deal on Fernandez because he gets relegated. So it could be that it's not as bad as you think. But I get the feeling that Man United's overall spend will be kind of similar, and we'll get a similar amount of players, but we will go for cheaper players alongside Anderson. So that's why I think that it's not going to be as dramatic as people think. So Enzo was 105, so Anderson's worth it. You got Enzo, you got and you got Enzo, you've got Caicedo, you got Declan Rice as the midfielders that are going to be that sort of price point. So this is kind of like where you got the historical kind of ceiling in terms of how much players it cost. Too many would be 1 point for United, says Andy. I think they're both up there. Like for me, they're both up there, and the third place one is difficult to call. So you want a sure midfielder, so you be as critical as possible. You can be critical of the players if you want. There will be I guess with this one there will be a little bit of an adaptation time as well. Chelsea pushing. I can't imagine. I can't imagine too many going to a team that hasn't got Champions League football. So I can't imagine. Can you imagine Chelsea? Like, too many's not going to go to Chelsea. I don't think Chelsea can afford his salary. Like Chelsea pay lower salaries, and they want younger players they can sell. I can't imagine too many would look twice at Chelsea. I don't think Chelsea can spend that much money either without selling players. Ryan's saying can't afford to not have quality and quantity. We should have that, shouldn't we? All I'm thinking is that if Man United are going to sign, say we're going to sign 5 players or 6 players, and if you get Anderson for crazy money, I think what happens is you then just get cheaper options, but they'll still be good options. They just won't be quite as expensive. That's what I'm thinking. But Jeff, big up to you, Jeff. Yeah, I don't want Tonali. I've said that a few times. Not for the price they want either. Interestingly, Daz, I spoke to a Nottingham Forest fan on here, and he said something similar. He predicted like this was at the start of the stream. So Talk Forest TV, who came on the channel yesterday after the match, he was saying that he could see this deal happening before the World Cup, and if it doesn't happen before the World Cup, then it's probably going to be something that's like not a deadline day signing, but it might be something that happens right at the end. So maybe that's something as well. Maybe we're going to see either this happens immediately, and I think this is something that United would like to push early on. And to be honest, actually, if you're Nottingham Forest, it might be better to do the deal early because then you get the money. You know you're going to have to replace him, and it gives you time to actually get some targets lined up or signed. So I think the worst case scenario for, say, Manchester United or Manchester City would be for this to drag on. and then get to the stage of the transfer window where maybe then the price, if anything, the price might go up towards the end of the transfer window because Nottingham Forest will be thinking, let's keep him, or let's keep him, or maybe we have a situation where we want to, we want more money because we're looking for new targets. It's really tricky, isn't it? So I don't think it's going to be too straightforward. I'll be up to you, Bilal. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that, Bilal. For people also as well, tonight there's going to be a stream by Jules. I don't know if Jules is still in the chat, but Jules will be hosting a stream about 9 p.m. tonight, I think it's going to be. So there will be Jules will have a regular show on Mondays, 9 p.m., covering probably stories that happen after we do a midday stream as well. But we'll try and cover all the news as we can during the course. So at the moment, interestingly, it looks like most people are voting no. I'm not surprised by that, to be honest. No would be the sensible vote, but it'd be interesting to see if this percentage changes. Because if you think about it, do you remember that we had a conversation last year, and when you get a few transfers done, things do actually sometimes escalate. You do sometimes get, you sometimes get prices like shooting up. So if Manchester United bought this deal, bought Anderson, it's going to cost a lot of money. West Ham are relegated. I think Spurs need one more point, don't they, to make it official? Like Spurs have to get 1 point in 2 games because the goal difference is I think the goal difference is like 14 goals or something. So unless Spurs lose every game 5-0 and West Ham actually even that they'd have to lose like they have to be very big defeats. West Ham have to win the last game and hope that Spurs don't pick up any points essentially. So Spurs have to lose 2 games. West Ham have to win. I don't even know who West Ham are playing, but it looks like they're gone. So I think they're going to be relegated as well. So West Ham will be gone, and then maybe we're going to see. Apparently, they're trying to say that there's not going to be reductions at this one for the price, but I think that Fernandez will be a bit cheaper. So, a report claimed Anderson will go after the World Cup, but United now want him earlier before the World Cup, even to agree a deal verbally. So this is what I think that maybe if Man United can actually speak to Anderson, which has been rumored to be happening, I'm sure it. Like, I don't believe Twitter sources, but I do believe that Manchester United will be talking to all these players concerned. Like they will be doing this. This is a just standard procedure. They will be talking to these players, and they will be finding out if they want to join Man United for sure. And they'll get some clarity on the situation, hopefully at the start of the window, and then maybe we can see a situation where if they agree a deal in principle, and then it's just a case of Man United negotiating, then yeah, they could lose their two. They could, as they could, but then it does mean that I think West Ham have got to win their final game. I'm not sure they're playing. So three games have to have there has to be two Spurs defeats, one West Ham win, and otherwise West Ham are gone. So it could happen. It would be kind of nice to see Spurs get a heavy defeat just to make the last day of the season interesting. But I think West Ham are gone. That's my feeling. It feels very unlikely, doesn't it? Based on also Spurs have actually picked up I think 8 points in the last few games, so they're actually hitting form at just the right time. And what times is Jules' stream? Jules' stream will be 9 p.m. tonight, UK time. So I'm not sure the time difference where you are, Jeff. Is it Texas where you are? So is that 6 hours difference? So it's gonna be I've been quoting you a bit as well, Jeff, as well, because of the things you were saying about the referee situation and the handball. So people can watch that yesterday, but I think you were spot on, and I agree 100%. No, it's going to be 9 p.m. tonight, UK time. Jules is going to be doing his show. I think it's going to be another news show, which should be good. But big up to you, Jeff, as well for coming on. Always good to get your opinions. I think Anana might be. There is potential Anana gets loaned. I saw, but we'll have to see this one. So don't forget to vote in the poll. I want to find out the result in a second. Find out how many crazy people say we're going to spend we should spend 125 plus. I know a couple of people in the comments very early on did say, okay, if I could take three players from any club, I might go for Anderson, Morgan Gibbs White, and Murillo from Forest. From West Ham, you got Jeff, Fernandez, Bowen, and I think from Newcastle, you probably take Lewis Hall, Tonali, and Bruno Guimaraes. There's a few good options there, isn't there? I think if I was going to make a decision, I think Morgan Gibbs White, Anderson, Murillo might be up there because I think the thing that Newcastle have got is like Lewis Hall's a good option. West Ham have got Fernandez. I don't know. It's tempting, isn't it? But I would go for Forest option, I think, and go Anderson, Murillo, Morgan Gibbs White for those three players. So mainly based on Anderson, I think, with that one. Yeah, late night stream. It's usually about 9 p.m. It just depends on guests. It's when Jules was no, when Jules is available. It's all good. So it depends. There is a bit up in the air at the moment with different people hosting shows. There might be slight changes, but big up to you, Kazi. So let's have a look at the poll and see what people are thinking. People that are watching as well, if you're able to share on socials during the live stream, it's the perfect way to try and grow the channel. If you'd like to help us try and do that, just to try and reach different people and send out to YouTube a message that more people should get involved with this one as well. Also, please check out Talk Forest TV as well, who has been a great guy on the channel recently, supporting and also giving us some interesting perspective from a Forest fan. And maybe if something happens with Anderson in the near future, what we might do is we might try and get him on again. If there's some like serious news stories that we can talk about and things that are actually happening, but it will be good. It's quite fun to actually get some opposition fans on. So I will be trying to leverage like the network I've got and try and get some people on to provide you with some different opinions as well. Particularly as from a Man United fan perspective, we've got all the information that we see regarding regarding Anderson, but it's quite nice to get Nottingham Forest fans' perspective as well about how much they think he'd realistically go for and what's been talked about in the Forest media and on Forest fan channels. So there's lots of things coming out from there as well. And I think he did say things that people are also saying here as well that it either happens very quickly or it could drag out a little bit as well. So yeah, it's a bit of it's interesting. I think with football communities, obviously there's a lot of like we hear a lot of media from Man United and a lot of people watching probably watch Manchester United fan channels. And if I get a guest on that's a Manchester, let's say a Nottingham Forest content creator, they're going to be, they're going to spend, a lot of time researching information as well. So also, if I can reach out to other content creators and get them on, it could it could give you guys more information as well that we could find out because they'll be looking at a huge amount of different articles, but also they'll be watching this one as well. Yeah, no, DJ, you're in the Discord, so I'll post a link to the guy's fan channel because he's a good guy. He came on yesterday. I'll post a link to that in the Discord, so please check him out. Um, welcome Lou to the chat as well. Um, so big up Yoli. Do you want to win the league or do you not? Anderson will win United the league. Big up to you, Yoli. You've been there all the time because I did say that you quoted 140. So let's look at the poll. I'm not allowed to vote, unfortunately, but this would be a really difficult one to vote on. Should United spend 125 million on Anderson? No, say 84. I forgot the million there, so it's not 125 quid. Otherwise, it'd be a different. But yes, say 16%. So I'm going to remember this because when it gets to transfer window time and everybody gets excited and the window opens, I will do another vote. And if we see a story that talks about 125, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be voting, say putting a poll in the chat and see if you guys change your mind. Because when the transfer window opens, I think people go crazy. I think it's like when you have like a closing down sale at a shop and everybody like storms in. I think as soon as the transfer window opens, people will be like, "Buy Anderson now! It doesn't matter what it costs," and people will go insane. So Yardie, just bide your time, mate, because it will change. Things will change, and people will go absolutely crazy when the window opens. It will be like people are going to react. The way I'm reading the comments is people are going to react like West Ham are having a closing down sale. As soon as West Ham get relegated, we're going to be like, right, we should buy half that team. We should get Bowen. We should get Fernandez. We should get Somerville. We should get Juve, and people will go crazy for it. Hey, big up to you, Jeff. Absolute legend on the channel. Thank you so much for your super chat. And you're saying you're off to work. You'll be on for full Jules show. Yeah, Jules is going to be doing an excellent show tonight, I'm sure. And so I think we are sneaky signing Angela Stiller and Edison, who played quite well yesterday, watched the whole match. Yeah, interestingly, I was talking with Helgi and we were looking at individual players, and honestly, there's definitely like some a lot of comparisons, but similarities between Edison at Atalanta and looking at Anderson. Like they have the same strengths. A bit, I'm not going to say that they're close. I think there's levels above with Anderson, but you're looking at it and saying, yeah, there's definitely something there. There's like seriously, he could be a good backup. Like he could be a decent backup. So 100%. But no, only 16% of people would pay 125, which is interesting because I think we're going to see people change. So again, no, it's been like DJ. Honestly, it's been like so many positives about Man United that if you remember last year when we were on Red Devil United and we were talking about Manchester United last season, it was so deflating the way the season ended. And I said from last summer, I said the transfer window is going in the right direction. I think the transfers we made are very positive. I would just love to see Man United like go for quality, like quality over quantity. I know people say we need more depth, and I do agree we need more depth, but um, just look at this. What have West Ham done? That so you want relegation to hit the hammers hard? What have West Ham? I've got nothing against West Ham, but Neil says no West Ham players. So for you, I think Fernandez is a good player. But I think Fernandez is a good player. So I know that he plays for West Ham, but no, he's been good. He's been good recently. But yeah, for people as well, like Jules' show tonight, one, I say at 1 p.m. I was gonna say it's 3 p.m. Texas time for people that are in Texas. I know a couple of people in the chat. If you're in the UK, it's going to be 9 p.m. I don't know what it's going to be about yet, but it will be something along the lines of something along the lines of like news stories as well that are trending. I did see a cheeky story this afternoon that said we're looking at Murillo, but I'm not sure we've got on this one. Let's say you're not sure where Arsenal and Chelsea suddenly are in the picture. No, Chelsea are not going to do too much. Like they're not going to do too much either. I wanted Spurs to get relegated. 100%. Yeah, no, I agree with you, Andy. Our attacking players, we should have put the game way outside. Okay, so Kazi, we're going to have to go with this comment because this is the sort of thing that you can imagine Sky Sports having in where we go like, let's get body language expert Kazi in today. And you're saying that Anderson's body language yesterday looks like he's thinking of coming, but we'll have to see. Did you watch the video when Anderson is walking um, outside Old Trafford and somebody shouts something like, Anderson, you're going to play here next year? And Anderson tried not to smile, but he did smile. And I was thinking, can we wear him down? Because the standing ovation Casemiro got, he knows that the fans would love him, and he knows that he'd be signing for a ridiculously big club. So can we do that? Because you don't get that at Man City, do you? You know, and that's the difference. He's playing. One of the good things is Eddie Anderson is playing for one of the heritage clubs in like Nottingham Forest, like a proper like Nottingham Forest are a proper football club, like a proper football club. And you look at the history that club's got. Manchester United have got the same. We've got the history. Is it going to be something that? Can you imagine if Eddie Anderson came to Man United and it could be like Brian Robson from West Brom to Man United. You go to a club that hasn't won the big trophies for a while, and could you be the next Brian Robson? Could you be the next midfielder that brings Man United back, future club captain? This Man United could like set all this out to him and go, look, um, what did he do? What did he do, Yali? Hopefully, do you- I think with this one that Man United fans, it's probably a perfect game yesterday, wasn't it? Because we won the game, but Anderson also had a really good game. So I wanted to see Anderson do well, but obviously I wanted to see something like that. But no, it would be like you could be a generational player, couldn't you? You could look at it and say, look what happened to Kevin Phillips, look what happened to Jack Grealish, and then go and look what happened with people like Eric Cantona. Like, Eric Cantona won the league at Leeds, but he was like nothing on this. He's not been talked about with Leeds ever since, and he joined Man United, and he's now a legend at United. So, as Dad said, yeah, it would be quite nice if Anderson said, "Yeah, sure, I'll come back." No, either way, he's going to be back, isn't he? He's either going to be back as a Manchester United player, a Forest player, or a say a Man City player. I just 100% hope it's not a Man City player. I mean, I'm also thinking as well, where's Anderson from? Is Anderson from the northeast? Because Michael Carrick's from that area, and are you thinking about joining all the dots? Thinking, there's all these like things, isn't there? We had a world class player come from Forest to Man United. Look what Roy Keane did. Look at the history with like Michael Carrick. Look at the situation with Anderson as well. And even like actually Brian Robson was from the northeast as well. So I can't remember exactly where Brian Robson was from Chesley Street. I'm not sure exactly what big area that's from, but I think he's from a similar sort of area at least. So Anderson was playing Newcastle to start with. So basically Newcastle, and they're basically Newcastle. Um, this is my knowledge about the Northeast. I know Chestler Street is where Brian Robson's from. I don't know exactly where South Shields is in relation to Newcastle and Sunderland, but um, Chestler Street is about 10 miles from Newcastle. I've driven through Newcastle. It's not the nicest road. Like you have to drive like nose to tail for about I don't know 10 miles and like really busy. I think it was on the A1, but so about 10. Yeah, exactly. This is what I'd be doing. I'd be putting together a presentation and saying whereabouts is Carrick from then, Kazi? I don't know where Wallsend is. But my geography knowledge deteriorates massively once you go above, say, Sheffield, Leeds area, which I did live in that area for a bit. But once you go beyond then, I don't know. Um, yeah, so you could basically put together a package and say Brian Robson, Michael Carrick, you got Roy Keane coming from. There's all these different like reasons why Anderson would be a good signing for Man United. Just make it happen. That's what I'm saying. That just put an offer on the table. So Wallsend's in Newcastle. So effectively, they're all around the same place. Yeah, that for the purpose of the stream, that'll be sufficient. So they're all from the northeast, and I think that it's going to be. I think it's going to be a best move, isn't it? That I know we're kind of biased, but you've got to look at Man United and this. Have I spoken with any Geordies? Um, only one. I think a couple. I didn't know, but I think they'd lived for no outside of Newcastle for a couple of years, so they were a bit more. But I got a friend from Dundee who I can understand pretty well. Yeah, Stevie Bruce. We're gonna have to get Steve Bruce, Brian Robson to go around and have a chat. Maybe I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but don't let Kevin Keegan speak to him. It's probably the one thing you want to avoid. No, but anyways, we're gonna wrap it up there. There's gonna be a stream tonight with Jules. As we said, if you're able to leave a comment on the video and hype the video, etc., share with your friends. Find some Man United fans you know that would be interested in non-Gary Neville sponsored conversation. That's what I'll say. And then, what if Anderson demands captaincy to join us? Whatever it takes. I'll say whatever it takes. Real said, I just read the first part and my mind finished. Carrick whispered to his ear, jet fuel can't melt steel beams. Real quality. Just like what's the word? Just positive thoughts, people. Positive thoughts. Anderson incoming. Let's see. I'll make some thumbnails ready for when it happens. I think I'll just change the words "done deal," "offer made," "first bid." Essentially, it's a bit like it's gonna be like Embuemo from 2000, from 2025, isn't it? We'll do the same thing, but no, no. Cheers, DJ. Thanks everybody else. Don't forget. Um, I remember Kevin ran briefly, but a little bit before I watched them a lot. Broken Verdicts, big up to you. Says, been hearing that Tonali price dropped slightly to 87 million. I thought it was like 80. Let's hope it drops a bit more then, a little bit more, and then we can talk. But yeah, no, people are around. Jules will be around tonight, 9 p.m. Please check him out. That's going to be in like, say, about just over 6 hours on the channel. But Jules will do an excellent stream as always on a Monday. But tune in then if you want to chat to Jules. And I might do something on the channel before then. I'm not sure, but probably not because we're trying to cover the news. So I've been hammering Anderson. I don't know what Jules will be covering tonight, but it depends on different stories. But again, leave some comments on the videos if you want to suggest things you want to talk about. Be up to you, United. So I die. I've got to head off because it's been a long stream. But please rewatch them if you want to. But United So I Die, 9 p.m. tonight. Jules will be streaming as well. So please get in the conversation then. Big up to you, legends, in the chat. Thank you, Glove, for the super chat. Thank you, Jeff, for the super chat as well. We'll be back in about 6 hours' time. So now, cheers, guys. We'll catch you later. Thanks for supporting the stream. Please, as I said, please share if you can. If you can, it's really going to help. If you can do that and leave a comment on the video after, perfect. So then, guys, have a great rest. It's actually bright and sunny outside, so I'm going to go and touch some grass, I think. So take it easy, guys, and we'll catch you soon.